Hey guys, welcome to the Canada Puck Podcast, your weekly recap of what's going on in the world of sports, specifically hockey, and specifically in Canada, but maybe not specifically just hockey. I don't know. We'll see what happens at the end of the show today. I'm your co-host, Mick. You can find me on Twitter at ProfitMick. And I'm joined every episode by my lovely and talented co-host,
Grant.
Nice.
On Twitter at Fourth Line Sports. Those of you who tuning in on audio probably didn't see the enthusiasm with which I caught the ball being dropped towards me. But we do not drop balls. You know what? We don't touch balls here on the Canada Puck Podcast. And it's been a crazy week. And I think that's what our friend Mick was passively alluding to, is that there's been a lot going on in the sports world. I don't even know. You know, we could fill an entire hour and a half probably talking about everything other than hockey. But that's not what we're here for. We are here to run through headlines, Bettor Advice, My Dirty Fantasy. I don't know if we're playing a card game today or not. Babe of the Week. We got it all here.
Maybe we'll look at some cards, but like talk baseball or March Madness or football or something. Like, there's so much other sports going on, and so much of my time is dedicated to other stuff. I think we'd be doing a disservice to myself and our listeners to not at least mention it. So, I think last week, let's try and, like, go for that hour time limit, get through our regular show as best as possible, and then, like, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes at the end, maybe for other stuff. That work?
Yep. I make no promises, because you know how I get on my tangents, especially when we start talking about those frisky sends. But
oof, yeah, those frisky sends. Foreshadowing. I love foreshadowing. Bad sign. Probably a bad sign. So if this is your first show, welcome. We're going to run through headlines to just kind of touch on what's going on the last week with the 7 Canadian hockey teams and NHL trade deadlines on Monday.
I'm not going to make a comment on this, because every time I open my stupid mouth, I'm wrong. I can't even remember. Was it the 21st?
I think
it was the 21st. I think we looked into it last week, and I think it was the 21st.
Yeah, 21st makes sense, but it might be Wednesday. This week. It's coming up this week. And that also makes sense why they're holding out, like, the Claude Giroux and the Giordanos are all sitting, right? Because they don't want to hurt over the weekend, so they're hoping a deal kind of gets rectified. Probably, like, late Sunday night, you know, you're wrapping things up, 9:30 at night, kind of thinking about the work, and all of a sudden you get this big bomb that drops, and then you're like, oh, well, I'm not sleeping tonight. Screw you, Monday morning.
That's the dream. That's the trade deadline we deserve. Every year they hype this up. Every year it's like, this is going to be an earth-shattering trade deadline. And the last few years, at least 2 of the past 3 years, I think, have just been snorefest. Like, just wasting your time. Like, if you called in and used the sick day, it was a poor use of your time. Unless you had adult entertainment on one TV, Trade Center on the other, you know, big fuck up.
Yeah, big time screw up. So let's hit the standings. So we might be touching on some trade stuff. I know some rumors. I don't know everything. I just don't care. I'm not a hype culture guy, personally. You know, everyone's like, oh man, you see that new movie, or that new game, or that trailer? And I'm like, nah, that ain't me.
Well, time out. We're on the topic now. Have you seen the new Batman movie?
I haven't, no.
Neither have I.
Yeah.
Maybe it's in our cards later. But anyways. Yeah. Back to the standings.
All right, so we have to go to the bottom of the league, the Montreal Canadiens. Man, I'm excited to talk about these losers. So, bottom of the standings, 32, Montreal Canadiens, 41 points. 31 is the Seattle Kraken at 42 points. There was an epic showdown last week between the Seattle Kraken and the Montreal Canadiens, and there wasn't a Leafs game on TV, so I sat and watched it. How many rounds of a shootout do you think these two shitty teams went to before someone scored?
Well, I know the answer to this question. Was it 8? Was it the 8th round?
It was 8. It took 8. It took 16 shooters before one of these crappy players could actually... it was just an effort of futility. It was one of the best things I've ever seen in my life.
The thing that tickles me the most, you're teasing everybody about, you know, big names sitting out. All I could picture is Montreal in the back of the room saying, hey guys, hey, we're going to hold out Ben Sherratt. like it's some big fucking triumphant announcement. Like, oh man, I don't even know if he was traded, but I know they've been sitting him out this week.
I don't think he was moved. Was he moved?
I've been paying attention. As mentioned, it's been a kind of a crazy week in sports. I do remember seeing him being held out, but I don't know if he was actually dealt.
I'll pull that up as we talk. That's really my only Montreal Canadiens story. I think I saw a report they're not going to just do a fire sale, so not everyone's for sale. Why? I don't know.
I think that winning changes things.
Chariot was traded.
To who?
To Florida. They got a first round, a fourth round, and prospect Tyler Smilinac.
Come on. A first round pick for Ben Sherrod. This is the world that we're living in. This is our reality.
Yes. That's a real thing.
That seems a little fucked. No offense, Ben Sherrod, but it wasn't so long ago you were treading water with the Winnipeg Jets to go treading water with Montreal, and now they have a first-round draft pick for him.
Oh, it doesn't make sense. Like, we can go back to March 14th, and this is not Canadian-wise, so let's talk about it now, but the Avalanche got Josh Manson for Drew Hellison and a second? And, like, isn't Josh Manson considered maybe a little bit better than Chariot?
Yeah, they play a similar role, and that is a shutdown role. Josh Manson with a lot more upside, a lot younger. Maybe the difference is he's I don't know Sherrod's contract status, but I know that Manson is an unrestricted free agent. But still, top 2 pick and a prospect, because I think Hellison was a second round pick. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, no, it's bizarro. One of the things I've seen is actually teams it's going to be quiet just because the market is so screwed up. So Florida might have galaxy brained the trade deadline by giving up a first for Chariot. Now the market is so skewed that no one else is going to make a move. So they actually kind of won the deadline by overpaying early on.
Talking about more overpaying, you see that the Tampa Bay Lightning were also into giving up 2 more first-round picks. These guys just don't want to make first-round picks. I think that's what it boils down to. Mm-hmm. Goodrow, Coleman, I think those were the last 2. And I think both of those were gone from first-round picks. So, yeah. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But maybe that's a random aside because obviously they are not Canadian.
Well, and I mean, I think that goes to show kind of when you're in the market, like when you're winning, first-round picks are better used as capital to help you try and win another cup rather than build for the future, right? Because obviously when the thing falls out in Tampa Bay, it's going to be a long rebuild. But when you're in the moment, keep it. Keep the momentum rolling. So
I'm excited to see the downstream impacts of this because Tampa Bay in 5 years is going to be a lot different than Tampa Bay now.
Oh yeah, how's that for a Montreal Canadian segment?
Well, yeah. That's it.
That's it. All right. Just throwing through here quickly. UFAs that are standing out for the Montreal Canadiens, current the cap friendly. Nothing really stands out in my mind. That was kind of probably the big piece that they're moving. Do they make another trade? Maybe, but I don't think they're tipping the scales at this point, right? So Lehkonen, Perreault. No? All right.
Yeah, radio silence on my end. I don't care to talk about either one of those.
All right. So if we scroll up to 27th overall, so just out of the bottom 5, you get the frisky Ottawa Senators, although they're tied with New Jersey for 5th. So what are the frisky Ottawa Senators up to?
Status quo is probably the best way to describe their past week. Inconsistent. They're up and they're down. Goaltending's up and is down. Their offense continues to gain momentum. And I was surprised. They're steep underdogs against the Habs tonight. Maybe moderate underdogs against the Habs tonight, despite this increased offensive productivity. And we know how goaltending with the Habs can be. Maybe that's foreshadowing. However, steady as she goes for the Sens. Offense is going. I don't think Drake Batherson's back yet, but they're still putting up reasonable amounts of offense. So, I don't see them. I don't foresee them. Again, any earth-shattering moves? No. Could they move on from a few players? Could a Tyler Ennis be out the door for a second-round pick? Probably. Mm-hmm. But I don't know if there's going to be anything that really shakes the Sens to their core this trade deadline.
Yeah, and they are they've just been hanging around in the bottom, right? Lots of upside. I know Thomas Chabot apparently went down with an injury. I think he's done for the season at this point. He's their number one defenseman, so like really just trying to bottom out at this point, right? I wouldn't be surprised if we see some other guys get shut down with injuries in the upcoming weeks, months. That's kind of it. Looking, we've got that's kind of Ennis, Nick Paul. Do we care about Nick Paul? Chris Tierney, Zach Stanford? No? Okay. A couple other RFAs coming up this year, right? So they're going to have to spend some money to kind of keep this young core together, right? So hopefully they can kind of work on those deals. That's kind of it for Sensline.
Well, we did it. We did it without a Sens segment, without gushing over how great they were. Good for us, Mick. That's fucking big time improvement. That's the stuff that's going to keep us at around an hour today.
Nice. Yeah, that's what we need. We need a couple like just hard passes. The Senators probably not doing a heck of a lot. So if we scroll up though, hey, we're out of the bottom 12, and that's where we get to 19, and we get to the Winnipeg Jets. What's going on with the Winnipeg Jets this week?
Well, they fucked up, and nothing was going on. I don't want to talk about the week that was, but we need to talk about the defensive core that they continue to just lose hockey games with. They actually had a decent week here. What is that? 2 wins, 2 losses.
Okay.
But again, goals against. They have 5 against the Islanders, 3 against the Blues, 3 against the Knights, 4 against the Bruins. So I think they missed their opportunity. If they wanted to compete this year, I think they needed to make a play for a defenseman earlier on in the year. Yeah. And the gap between the top teams in the Central and the Winnipeg Jets is just too big. I don't see anything big happening. I don't see a playoff push happening. And you're at the point in the season now where it's like, what do you do? Like, do you sell the farm to try and make a late push? That seems like an unwise move.
Yeah, no, that's it. Kind of looking quickly at their cap-friendly page. Pierre-Luc Dubois is an RFA, so he's going to get a little bit of a raise this offseason. Has he done something to kind of push the needle? Is he going to move into that $8 million, probably 7-something, long-term to keep that guy around unless it's like a shorter bridge deal? So I don't know if he's showing signs of being worth that.
So I've been thinking about this, and he kind of reminds me of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, maybe a more skilled Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, but still a guy who has scratched the ceiling but doesn't consistently play there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no. For some reason, I thought Mark Scheifele was up this year. He was a UFA. He's still got 3 years left on his $6 million. Man, what a waste. What an absolute waste of that guy's contract, eh? What a bargain that they had there. Nothing. They did nothing with it.
You sweep the Oilers one round, get swept the next, and that's your playoff success.
Yeah, and just it's bits and pieces. They lose in the first round, or they make it the first round, but then they get beat up in this. Man, it's too bad.
But we're not going to sit and dwell on the Winnipeg Jets. We got other better teams to talk about because we are approaching the top half of the league, if not into it. Oh no, we got one more team before we get to the top half.
I was going to say, I scrolled too far and I already spoiled it for myself and all the viewers, not just listeners. But at 18th, we get the Vancouver Canucks, who have been unstoppable since Bruce Boudreau came in. Basically, are they the greatest team ever? I mean, they do have a +1 goal differential on the season, so it's pretty nice.
That is all right. The only way, what will help the Canucks get that final postseason spot is ongoing struggles from the Vegas Golden Knights. And that is, if Vegas doesn't make a goaltending move, because that seems to be the limiting factor for them as well, then conceivably they're 3 points back of Vegas for, I think, the final wild card spot. Yeah, 3 points back of Vegas for the final wild card spot with a game in hand. We could have 3 Western Canadian teams in the postseason. What a success that would be for the Vancouver Canucks after the start of the season that they had.
Oh, and that's really where they're at. I mean, they keep talking about... I feel like the trade chatter has kind of died down a little bit on the JT Millers, right? Maybe Brock Besser has moved out the door at some point if they can get something for him, right? I wouldn't be surprised if he moves. I can't imagine they are buyers, right? More than likely, they're probably moving out their pieces. But like you said, they're so close. They're so darn close. And there is a lot of potential and youth on this team. If the cards fold right, they get into the postseason. That buys this management, this coaching staff, right? Like everything just looks like it gets kicked up a notch, right? For that future roster construction of this squad. So I don't know. It's interesting. I'm more interested in the Vancouver Canucks and kind of to see what they do than maybe some of the other Canadian squads. But my interest in them, just because I want to get this out there, is going to die as soon as the trade deadline. Like, I do not care about them 1 second after that trade deadline reaches. I just care about them a little bit up into it. So I don't want the apologists to get excited.
If we are attracting Vancouver Canucks fans to our podcast, I think we're doing it all wrong.
Yeah, 100%.
That's the sign where if we have more than 2 Vancouver Canucks apologists tuning in, Mick, I think it's time for us to hang it up. I think it's just time for us to be done.
That's it.
I do not want to cater to the Vancouver Canucks.
No, not at all. That was kind of it. Didn't they lose to some loser squad the other day? Like, didn't Detroit beat them?
You know what? I remember. I can probably got the answer right at my fingertips here.
Yeah, let's see. If I click on them, does it show us kind of like 1-0? Detroit, who got absolutely wrecked the last couple of weeks. Like, they've just been looking just awful. We'll talk about this maybe in 2 teams, but I might have watched a little bit of Flames Red Wings as well. Man, the fact that you lose to the Red Wings, you should be ashamed of yourself, Vancouver. What have you done?
Shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
You went quiet a little bit. Did you turn your volume down?
I don't know. Is that any better?
No, not really. All right, well, maybe I'll come back. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything else that jumps off in terms of cap-friendly stuff, so that's it for Vancouver, eh?
Yep, that'll... Thank you, fuck you, say too.
All right. On to 15th, top half of the league. We did it. Pew, pew, pew. 2 more points than the stupid Vegas Knights with 2 games in hands. It is your MVP, Connor McDavid, and the Edmonton Oilers.
They've had a successful week, and success that was sustained success that has been missing from, basically since the first month of the season. And I think the part that I like the most about the Edmonton Oilers is that they are playing better on both ends of on the ice. My concerns, but the caveat is that this week was at home, and I think I mentioned last week is that they struggle to limit opportunities as the visitors, and that's going to hurt them in the postseason if they can't at least have home ice advantage for the first round. Realistically, they're not catching the Flames, but could they catch the Los Angeles Kings? 4 points back, 2 games in hand. They've got the tiebreaker in regulation wins and regulation and overtime wins. So I think that's the best bet to having getting out of the first round is clinching that second seed so they can use home ice to their advantage because they need it. That's very clearly reflected in the metrics. But interesting tidbit, Mikko Koskinen, you talked about Mikko Koskinen playing improved hockey. They have oddly taken the approach that goaltending is no longer a trade deadline requirement, and the rumors are that they are not going to be making a trade, which I don't know if I believe in. Koskinen's great, that's fine. Is he the key to postseason success? I don't think so.
No, I agree, but yeah, no, the same thing. I watched a lot of Detroit Red Wings because I also feel like for some reason I was watching a Red Wings Oilers game at some point, maybe on Sunday or something. And yeah, their little panel up in Edmonton was going off about Mikko Koskinen potentially, and to quote Sam Constantino, maybe playing the best goaltending in the National Hockey League right now. So the answer for the Oilers in net is in fact already in their building. So I just wish I knew what strain Sammy Constantino was smoking at that moment when he said that? Because that sounds great. That's what I want.
That's the typical type of blowhard commentary we've come to expect from Toronto Maple Leafs broadcasters, media in general. I would say in Canada, not like, let's get real here. Mikko Koskinen's on a hell of a run, and that's great. But he has done this before. In fact, this is kind of his MO.
Yeah.
He goes on these runs and then he plummets. Like that's what has kept him out of the NHL on a consistent basis. And it's great. Let's ride it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. But is it the key to long-term success? No. Is it probable that he gets hot for the entire duration of the playoffs? Absolutely not. Do they need help in net? Yes, they still need help in net.
Yeah, but I do wonder if that, because of Koskinen's play is improving, if, say, like the Anton Forsberg, right? Like maybe getting a rental player like that in or something like that, that's going to cost you significantly less than saying the farm for like Marc-Andre Fleury, right? Because in my mind, those are kind of the two like polar opposites. You can have that elite talent, or you can have that like slightly above average, but it's going to cost you way less, right? Like maybe a prospect, maybe kind of a mid-round pick or something like that. And honestly, that's pretty good. Like, just looking at the cap friendly for the Oilers, I know the results are what they are, but this isn't the worst club that McDavid has played with, right? Like, there's a lot of promise, there's a lot of pieces, and if they all click at the right moments, they have a shot. Like, they're going to be a tough out in the playoffs, so...
The thing that I've liked the most about the Oilers over their recent sample is the play from the bottom six.
Yeah.
And Shore, I think he has points in 3 of 4. And I think he even had a shorty last time out. But that's exactly what's missing. And I think the optimistic part of me is always like, well, we still don't have a fully healthy roster. Like, where I think Nugent Hopkins still out. Like, if he comes back, that kind of changes the scoring dynamic. And all of a sudden you can skate Nugent Hopkins with a guy like Cassian. Maybe that elevates Cassian's play, and then you get those 3 scoring lines with Connor on 1, Draisaitl on 2, Nugent Hopkins on 3. And then you have a line like the Shoreline that still manages to put up moderate production. I think that's the part that I'm most looking forward to. But all of that's a moot point if their goaltending falls flat on the face again. And that's the part that I foresee happening without any major changes. And it doesn't have to be a major change. You're right. Forsberg would be a great addition because Mike Smith is not the backup that they need him to be. And this is what they ran into last season, was that they had Forsberg, but they had to send him through waivers, and that's how he ended up in Carolina before he ended up in Ottawa. Maybe there was an extra stop in there. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was Winnipeg. Anyways, so my concern is like having Forsberg would probably come at the expense of Mike Smith. And I'd rather have two. Rather have one B and one C than one questionable B.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I like to do this to Grant as we move on from the Oilers segment because I love to fill him with hope and then just watch him. What if the Oilers were like, you know what we need? We need a guy who's proven that he can play in Alberta. He's a winner. He can lead this team. Fuck it. We're going to trade a first to get Mark Giordano on the blue line. You heard it here first. He's coming home to Alberta, folks. That's the answer they need.
He has a time. I don't know what his contract details are. I suspect we could probably finagle Seattle hanging on to some of that. But he plays that. Well, he straddles kind of offensive shutdown roles.
Yeah.
And don't even. Yeah, fuck you, Mick. I hate you.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I was like, oh, man, that is what we need. No! Oh, God! Stop it!
Yes, all right. Guys, we're pretty excited. I have top of my screen. You can see it. Grant can't. Maybe we should learn how to screen share so you can actually see what's going on. Or not. 11th right now is the St. Louis Blues, and I don't see any other Canadian teams. That means we have 2 top 10 Canadian teams. Oh, my gosh. Who could they be? Oh, 9. 7th. We have to get to 7th before the Calgarian Flames pop up. They, for some reason, I was bored last week, and I was watching Flames Red Wings. What a one-sided game that was. They outshot the Red Wings 20-1 in the first period.
I remember. I tuned in for part of that.
That's it. There's nothing else. Just that's how terrible the Detroit Red Wings were playing. Obviously, they picked it up a little bit, especially with the win in Vancouver last night or 2 nights ago from there. So, other than that, what has been going on with the Calgary Flames? I believe they actually did make a trade.
I'm going to let you run through that because I don't know.
Cale Jarnkrok. All right. So they got forward Cale Jarnkrok. They gave up a second, a third, and a seventh, which again makes me believe that the market is like super overinflated. So we may not see any other trades based on the fact that Chariot got a first and Jarnkrok got a second and a third.
Cale Jarnkrok. What is he, Finnish? He's something over there. But anyways.
Something weird.
I did not know that. I think that I've said how high I am on the Flames this season, and I think that they didn't even need to make a move, but if Jarnkrok sits on the fourth line, I think that all things considered is probably gives them that extra little bit of depth that makes them more scary in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I was lamenting earlier before we turned the mics on, before we went into our hot mic situation. I talked about the Flames' regression, and then I bet on them against the Sabres, despite plus 300 price tag that was attached to the Sabres. Boy, did I regret that. But as far as moves go, I don't know. I wasn't expecting anything. It kind of caught me off guard that they did make a move. I don't think they need anything else. Are you hearing any other rumors? Are they attached to other names or other teams?
No, I kind of heard that Tyler Toffoli trade was kind of the big move, right? That's what they wanted. That's what they needed. It was a guy that fit their system really well, complemented every piece that they had, and that's kind of what you want, right? At this point, you don't need to shake up, especially a roster that's playing this well, and that's kind of it. Like, even quickly looking at their page, they've got some UFAs coming up on the blue line. Like, it's going to look a little different. Like, their bottom 3 are up there. They've got a couple questionable pieces. Like, what happens with Gaudreau this offseason? But that is for the future, so the now and present, I imagine this is probably the squad that they roll into the postseason that's playing well. That's kind of it, right?
Yeah. Again, the timing of this season, because traditionally when this bottom out phase happened, I always look for it to happen at the end of January. I'm not sure how this new bottoming out phase or how this new schedule is going to impact everything. Or like I said, maybe I'm just way off base with the ebbs and flows of the NHL season. But with playoffs now starting at the start of May instead of the start of April, I'm just wondering, like, timing wise, maybe this is a good time to bottom out so that you can build your momentum and get into that late season playoff push.
Yeah, no, it's kind of here now for the Flames, obviously with Sutter. Right, coming back. Can't imagine this is a team that's like kind of built for the future at this point, right? That's kind of maybe the last kick of the can for this squad, right? With Tkachuk being an RFA last year, Gaudreau, Monahan having 2 years left after this, right? You kind of start seeing maybe the bottom start to fall a little bit. Although the back end doesn't cost much. I'm seeing Hanifin signed for 4. Rasmus Anderson only makes 4. Tanev makes 4, right? So like, they can keep that going. Markstrom, they still have 5. But I think that forward core is going to kind of shake up. So give them one more chance. See if they can't get lucky in the postseason and then figure it out.
Second round matchup is, I've said this, I wholeheartedly believe this. Edmonton-Calgary is going to be a hell of a playoff series.
Yep. One hell of a playoff series. The Giordano part of that just seems like the biggest troll now, if anything. So can't wait.
That is next level trolling. Edmonton doesn't typically play that style of game, but I would love to see it.
Yeah, I'd love to give a bit more like detailed analysis, but the last Flames game I watched, they outshot the Red Wings 21-1 in the first period, and they won like 2-1. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah. Well, controlling the play, dictating pace, that's important type stuff.
Yeah, that's
possession is the new NHL.
Yeah, there you go. So you have to scroll up. And you guys knew it was coming. Top 5 in the league is the lowly little Toronto Maple Leafs. Pathetic little buggers. They played an outdoor game that was very windy, a little controversial. I think we saw them have a lead, then lose to the Sabres, came back and won, and Matthews got suspended, and then they came back and played great. Their next two matches against Dallas and Carolina, won both those affairs pretty handedly without their best player. Now we're here playing Nashville tonight.
I have this thing where when superstars return to the lineup, I always feel like it's a letdown spot. I don't know what it is. That being said, we can't talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs without talking about Austin Matthews absolutely losing his mind in front of the net for no particular reason.
Yeah.
Basically trying to chop Rasmus Dahlin's head off. I would love to hear your thoughts on the play.
I think it was just probably a frustrated situation, right? Like watching the game myself, it just seemed like, I don't know, they got a couple bad bounces. Mrazek is super inconsistent in net, right? Obviously was not the answer. They should have stayed with this Kallgren. I've actually never heard his name pronounced because I don't think the games have been televised the last couple where he's played. So Erik Kallgren, they're kind of a little younger goalie there. Probably better option than, and I think it was just a frustrated thing, right? Mistake, 2-game suspension, probably what Matthews deserved. I don't know.
Well, for all the names I've heard...
Again, I also don't think that, and like for myself, I don't think that the best player showing some frustration, some intensity, some like fuck you attitude, not the worst thing in the world, rather than him just kind of like being passive, being like, I don't care, I get paid lots of money to do nothing, you know what I mean? Like I kind of like that when guys get a little bit like lose it, right? Because it shows they care, shows they give a fuck.
Heated, yeah, I like it. Fair enough. You're right, 2-game punishment suits a crime.
Yep.
I want to talk about Peter Mrazek though, because I didn't tune into the game, I saw highlights, and everybody's talking about this like great glove save. Oh, look at this glove save. You know which one I'm talking about? We have to talk about how fucking Peter Mrazek can't even track the puck. That is the issue we should be discussing. When this guy is so fucking oblivious to where the puck is in his own end, screen or not, you pick up the puck a lot quicker than that. Like, everybody should be able to pick up the puck. Like, let alone an NHL caliber goaltender who should be able to follow the puck in his own end. When you don't see the puck pop out the other end from the person that's standing in front of you, you can safely assume that the puck's still over on the other side. But Peter Mrazek didn't even know that. He was just sitting there blindly and luckily got his hand on the puck. And he's a terrible goaltender. I don't care what anybody says. Peter Mrazek is terrible. I'm hopping on mixed bandwagon because this was the worst signing of the last offseason.
When I saw 3 years at whatever 3.7, I thought, great, awesome. They get a backup goalie for $1 million a year. He's played well, phenomenal. No, that's per season. I was just like, absolutely, just atrocious. He's showing it. If they get just a modicum of like average goaltending, which is what Kallgren's provided them the last 2 games, without their best player, they win. They beat the Dallas Stars, who are on a playoff hunt. They beat the Carolina Hurricanes, who are a better team than them, right? Like the Hurricanes have no reason to lose that last game, but they did because the Leafs just had an average goaltender. So goaltending is going to be the downfall of this team, which is a shame because there's lots of good things going on, right? So unless it's addressed, but again, it sounds like, speaking of Giordano to the Leafs is what I'm hearing, right? I don't know what the price is on that. I hear them attached to some forwards.
I think this is one of those slow-playing classic Kyle Dubas moves, and he always he always hits us with this misdirect, and all of a sudden rumors circulate around a defenseman. They don't need a defenseman. This is a fucking good defensive core. They needed an average goaltender. That's it. Yeah. I think that this is a head fake. I think that they are going to make a move for a goaltender. They don't have a choice not to. Yeah. God bless Soup's heart. He's been tremendous. Peter Mrazek's junk. Erik Kallgren, again, you got to root for the underdog, but at this stage, if you want to be serious about winning, you are not going to ride Erik Kallgren in the playoffs. So I think that they do make a trade. I think it is a meaningful trade, and I think that they are willing to give up an asset to make a run this year, because their window will eventually, they will be in a very soon, they will be in a position like the Calgary Flames or the Winnipeg Jets, where they're at the end of their window, and they're going to look back and say, well, fuck, why didn't we at least make a play on a goaltender? And Kyle Dubas is closer to that end than the team is. And if he doesn't do this now, then I don't think that he has a job at the end of this postseason.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've been touting that for a little while, right? I think pound for pound, goaltender's the issue with the squad. Let's see what happens, right? Do they run it back? Now, that being said, they don't make a play. They bring in, like, I think if you're going to get Giordano as a rental, as a 38-year-old player who probably doesn't provide too much for you, why not go to Arizona and try and get that, like, that Jacob Chichurin, right? What's that guy going to cost you? A first? Hall, Dermott, like Nicholas Robinson and like a prospect? We'll do that. Like move 3 more pieces and bring in like a younger quality, higher end talent that you can grow with your squad than like just these like bullshit rental deals. So I don't know. We'll see. But I agree. I think we'll see. Now, sorry, and I think what I was going to say was they don't do that. They just bring in, let's say they bring in Giordano. Great. Do they win 2 rounds in the playoffs this year? Potentially, right? And that's the ceiling of this team, the way they're playing. I don't know.
I stand by my assessment. I think the Leafs will exercise playoff demons, and I think that they will come with a different goaltender in net. And the thing that I think would just clinch it for me, I had this conversation with someone yesterday, but they match up perfectly. Not perfectly. Their best shot at a postseason or first round win is against the Panthers. Yeah. They play the Panthers game, and it's probably the only team that they can say they have more experience than, and that's kind of one of those things you can draw on if you get down later, if you're down in a series, to not just mail it in. And then that sets up a revenge series potentially with Carolina. If the stars align just right, we could potentially see a Toronto-Boston conference final, and that would be like the penultimate series of the Leafs exercising their playoff demons.
Yeah. No, I agree. All good things being said.
Yeah.
All right. So what are they doing? We're not sure. Maybe you know. That is headlines. You are now caught up. The week that was. I guess next week we're probably just discussing trades that happened. Yeah, that's what the internet is for. FanDuel. How did we do with FanDuel last week? So my dirty fantasy, we like to throw together a lineup, and we like to show just how smart, how incredible we are. I think I made back my dollar that I spent. I ended up 14th based on dumb luck. Grant, how did you do?
I'm just pulling up my history here. I'm pretty sure I was fucking terrible. I don't know why. I just can't figure this out right now. I've been struggling. Hell of a week. I think the nature of hockey, I've talked about this, is so chaotic that to do it successfully over the course of a season is just a near impossible task. So I got it open here. 95.9, 793rd out of 100, 1190. Oh, God. Well, Artemi Panarin, I was right on, 47.7. Again, goaltending, minus 6.4 points. I'm done fishing bottom of the barrel stuff for goaltending. I will validate that with my roster. Josh Norris, 0 points, kind of sunk me. Lekonen, Ryan Suter, 4.8. I talked about Dallas defensemen. You could take basically anybody. Like, you could take any Stars defenseman and they could have a good game. Esa Lindell, I think he had like 40 points that game. He had a goal and an assist and shots and blocks. And Ryan Suter had 4.8 points. I passed Lindell too. I was like, no, I'm going to Suter. Anyways, I've modified my approach, and this is this constant tinkering that I was hoping to avoid, but what I was doing wasn't working. So I've got a new strategy. But I'm going to pull up my live roster, my upcoming roster. Who do you have on tonight's slate?
So I'm just going to go over kind of what I did last week. I went dumpster diving, or kind of bargain hunting, like I said. I think Nick Ritchie was like $3,600. Max Comtos was something like $3,000. Goudreau, same thing. I think I spent like $9,000 for those 3 players. Ritchie got a goal, had a couple other points. Comtos put up an assist. So I think I ended up with $2,800 7 points between those 3 players. It's not terrible. About 9 points per at $3,000. Great value. I missed on my big fish, though. So, like I said, I think I ended up 14th out of 51, 125 points. McDavid helped. Nick Ritchie helped. And Jeff Swayman. Thanks for the win. That was kind of it. So, I'm trying to do the same thing. Tonight, I went dumpster diving. I think I found some bargain barrel players. And then I just kind of spent big. Do I like who I picked up front? Not 100%. Am I going to switch it? Of course. Am I going to regret it? Definitely. So I went with, and maybe a spoiler for the next segment, I started in net, and I said, I need a win. What's the easiest win on the board? The Detroit Red Wings, of course. Of course they're going to win. So Alex Nedvedic. Just diarrhea the name. I was like, Nedvedic. There's some consonants. That's probably him. At $7,300 against the Kraken. Why not? I think they've been trending up a little bit. Like I said, they definitely were down in the dumps when they were playing the Flames last weekend. Beating Vancouver, I think it's a pretty good squad, right? Playoff aspirations. They're trending up. They've got some firepower, so we'll see if they kick in. Start with him. I then went with David Kampf, third line for the Leafs against Nashville tonight at $4,000. And Barclay Goodrow, he was brought up earlier in the show, $3,700. Those are my 2 utility players because I want to save money. The criminally underrated Rasmus Sandin is $4,000 right now. Go do yourself a service. Throw him on your roster because, like Grant said, he's got great metrics. Steal of a deal. Quinn Hughes, $5,800. That rounds up my bottom. And then I could kind of do whatever I want. I went with Dylan Larkin, $8,100. Same with Elias Lindholm at $8,100. Then I've got William Nylander, $7,500. And I ended up with Brock Besser because I really like that Flames. I don't know if I like these ones. $6,100. I could change up those 4 kind of top guys and feel better about this lineup, but I really like what I've done at the bottom part. So that might get me some money.
Well, I see what you did. You're sticking with what works. I was worried you were having a stroke, but I was just trying to pronounce Nedeljkovic's name.
Yeah.
I know. All right. I'm stacking the Tampa Bay Lightning tonight at home against the Rangers. I think that there are goals that are going to be scored. So I have actually a Rangers stack with maybe it's just one. Yeah, it's just one Ranger. But starting on the back end, I went full send in goaltending. Andre Vasilevsky, $8,500. He's been good at home. The Rangers or the Lightning play a solid brand of hockey ahead of him. Added to the stack was Alex Killorn and Nikita Kucherov. Both skate on the first line. If you want to swap out Brock Boeser, I would say Alex Killorn's a name worth considering. $5,800. He skates with Kucherov on the top line. He skates on the power play unit. I have a feeling that he's gonna at least. You know what? I'm not gonna say that. I think I like his upside. The Ranger that I took is Philip Chittle. So this guy's kind of worked his way onto the score sheet somewhat consistently, but again, on the season, he's a little down on his metrics. So that is his expected is above actual, so still that room for growth. So I've also taken a stake in the Detroit Red Wings and Seattle Kraken game. Moritz Seider and Lucas Raymond are 2 names that I just couldn't pass up. Raymond, $5,600. Bertuzzi is out, so I'm expecting a lot of the offense to run through Raymond. Isn't it odd that a guy who has not vaccinated got COVID? Who would have thought? Moritz Seider, he's everything that people thought he wouldn't be when the Red Wings drafted him in, 4th overall. I like what he brings to the table. $6,100. And then Jared McCann, he's only $5,300. The top scorer with the Kraken, first line, plays on the power play, checks all the boxes. I'm taking a shotgun approach, so I've got to figure out what spots I've got left here. Oh, winger, Cole Caulfield. Ottawa can't seem to stop. I don't think that Ottawa is at a disadvantage tonight, at least not as big as the betting market would imply. And Cole Caulfield has a knack for finding the back of the net. So I'm going to say that Cole Caulfield finds his way onto the score sheet at $6,000, playing that top line minutes. And Matthias Ekholm, I don't like the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. I think that the Nashville Predators are outstanding. Eric Kallgren doing outstanding things, if not unsustainable things. And Nashville is a team that can put pucks in the net. So that rounds out my roster, I think. I think that's everybody.
Yeah, I like that. I was going to move that, like take your advice and get rid of Besser, but like the fact that his name's being talked about in a trade kind of makes me think he's getting a goal tonight. You know, kind of one of those last like, oh, now what's he worth? I mean, he's scoring, he's hot, maybe get him. I wouldn't mind moving on from say Goudreau, but my extra $400 really isn't I don't think I like Luke Shen more than I like Barclay Goudreau at this point, so I'm just gonna leave it.
Braden Shen, I believe.
No, Luke Shen.
Luke Shen?
Yeah, I mean, Goudreau's only worth he's worth 3,700 or something like that, so I'm in the 4,000 range. So.
I was thinking the wrong Goudreau. I was thought you were talking about Johnny Goudreau, but it's Frederick Goudreau, the defenseman?
No, Barclay Goudreau.
Oh!
Friend of the show, Barclay Goudreau.
Sorry, Barclay. I know how much you mean to the Canada Puck podcast.
Now, the only thing that would be better if I could get David Kampf out of my lineup and I could get Yanni Gourde into the lineup. So, I don't know if that's a possibility. What's Gourde worth? Probably too much. What is that, 10,000? 55? Yeah, that's too much. Sorry. No, I'm just going to leave it. So, there you go. Normally I change. I'm not going to change. We'll see what happens.
Well, Godspeed with that roster. We'll see how things play out. I'm not going to talk about the confidence I have in my roster because I have zero confidence in my FanDuel abilities.
Just find some cheap guys and hit on them. I realize it's a random approach, but the most success I've had is finding those known quantities that are intermittent, hitting on them, and then just having good guys up front, right? And that's kind of the strategy. So, speaking of strategies and things we can do, on to Bettor Advice, where we take 100 theoretical dollars every single week, gamble it in any way, shape, or form we want, keep track of the results, and we're essentially trying to make you money, dear listeners. Grant, did you have some success last week? Because I'm pretty sure I saw some OT final scores on the Score app the next morning when I checked. Did you have one of those?
I did. It was not the knockout punch that I wanted, but I did manage to go 2-2, nailing an overtime wager and the Oilers as plus 128 underdogs, I believe. Those were my two picks. I missed on the over somewhere, and I can't remember who the other team that will let me down was. So overall, up some money, not enough to retire, but it's nice to get back in the win column and say, you know what, it wasn't a losing week.
Nice. It's not bad. Myself, I had the Rangers over the Stars. They I think they were up 5-0 at one point or something like that. So clear and easy. Underdog on the road dog win. Then I picked Seattle. I got them even money over the Canadians. Both those teams sucked so badly. Someone had to win. Luckily, it was in my favor. So I ended up actually increasing my bankroll a little bit by about $24, $25. I'm over $500 on the season. I'm going to make more today. That's what I've decided to do. I'm going to make some more money. So
I like the confidence. I have 1, 2, 3. Well, I have 5 picks, and I'm sure you can figure out what the 5th one is.
I got 4.
All right, I'll lead off. Here we go. Nashville Predators, minus 105 at home. As mentioned, Eric Kallgren is playing out of his mind to start his NHL career, and these hot periods are inevitably followed by things that bring you back down to average. Predators have a knack for scoring at home. I don't believe that they are the underdogs in this scenario. Again, Austin Matthews coming back to the lineup is another one of those things that I think maybe the Leafs let their guard down a little bit. I'm betting $20 the Nashville Predators get past the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Put me down for 25 on the Predators.
Ooh, the old emotional hedge, hey?
It works very well because the Leafs, it's a great strategy. It's a super easy way to live your life. When they win, I'm like, oh, well, $5 I don't have. But when they lose, because they're such heavy favorites, because the betting markets are the general public is so stupid that they push the line even further in the Leafs' favor, you get great return. Like last weekend, I was kind of upset that Buffalo won, but at like 4.5 to 1 odds, I was like, I will take that payout. Like I will sit here happily with my $25 and be like, I did nice work today. So,
well, I like this strategy. There's no way for you to come out scathed in this one, and that is you're in a good position leaving Saturday night no matter what. I'll take my next money line pick, and that is the Ottawa Senators over the Montreal Canadiens. Ottawa has 10 or more high danger chances in 5 of their past 6, and the Habs have given up 16, 9, 18, 10, and 20, and then 11, 18 over their last 7 games. So not playing strong defense. I think what we've seen this week is a sign of things to come tonight. 4 goals against the Stars, 6 against the Yotes, 3 against the Flyers, 4 against the Kraken going back to last week, 5 Canucks, 5 against the Canucks a game before that. So goals against are an issue, and that's what you want to avoid against a young team that is trending upward offensively. Plus 128, I'm back in the Sens.
With you have Forsberg in net, playing against not a great offense. I think he's going to play lights out, especially since tonight essentially is his interview for potentially his next job, right? A chance to go win a cup somewhere, a chance to have some postseason success, make some money. We're going to see him play phenomenally. I'm taking $25 on the Sens myself, which is a terrible sign. Everyone, run to the markets right now. Bet Montreal, bet Toronto. That's clearly what's going to happen. So
absolutely. This is the universe telling you, giving you a sign, because when me and Mick align, bad things happen. I'm hoping you're not on my next pick here because it is a game that is about to start. I don't know if this is even going to be up before the game starts. Chicago Blackhawks at Minnesota Wild. You were talking about the Forsberg audition. Fleury's in a similar position. Mm-hmm. Blackhawks have actually been, again, underachieving on their metrics throughout the season. And Fleury's in a position where he could be playing his final game as a Blackhawk. I don't even know if he's been announced as a starter. And maybe I'm way off base on this one. Let's just double check here. Nope, Kevin Lankinen's the guy. Less confident about this pick, but I'm not going to change it now, not this late in the game. Chicago Blackhawks, Minnesota, going to overtime, +4. Oh, it's been down to 390 now. It was sitting around +400. +390. I'm betting $20 that this one gets sorted out in overtime or a shootout.
Cool. Yeah. No, I do not have that. But what I do have is I'm actually going to go against your FanDuel lineup. The New York Rangers are just playing good hockey. Tampa Bay, we've seen them stumble a little bit here or there. Rangers seem like they have a little bit more just to play for, right? Like they still kind of have, even though they're a top 10 team in the league, they kind of are playing that FU prove it mode. I like them. Plus 180. I'll put another $25 on the Rangers for this evening's affair.
That was one I was actually kicking the tires on going to overtime, but I landed on, and I wouldn't be surprised if it did go to overtime. And then it's anybody's game, especially with the Rangers skilled positions up front. Last pick. The St. Louis Blues at Columbus Blue Jackets. St. Louis is terrible. I know that their record states otherwise, but St. Louis is not a good hockey team. It chaps my ass that these guys get outplayed as badly as they do and they continue to win games. Columbus is trending positively. I don't know what the money line price is, but I think Columbus was underdogs. I didn't agree with that price, but I also couldn't back that. I wasn't behind backing them in regulation, so I took this game going into a shootout. It's plus 350, so $20 to win 70.
Nice. My final play of the evening is the only reason I don't like this play is I think the Kraken potentially are also in addition mode, right? They realize that the trade deadline is just hours away, right? Mere hours. Are they going to try a little bit harder? Maybe try and get that chance to go win a cup somewhere? Potentially. Are the Detroit Red Wings playing just absolutely atrocious, just god-awful hockey? They sure are. But at even money, I don't hate the Red Wings going into Seattle. That Pacific Northwest, just taking it in, eating those fresh fish from those markets, getting horribly sick, but not pooping themselves on the ice. So I like $25. Those are all my picks on the Red Wings tonight as road dogs against the Kraken. And I don't think anyone should be a road dog against the Kraken because I watched Montreal play Seattle last week.
Yeah, that head nod says it all for the non-watchers.
Oh yeah, I guess on an audio podcast, me playing to a camera doesn't really do anything for us, so that's a shame.
You're missing out all the eyebrow work too. It's always fucking good stuff. I'm not pulling any punches. Fifth pick, 4-leg parlay, everything you just heard. Sens, Predators, overtime in Minnesota, Chicago, and Columbus, St. Louis, plus 9,715, $10 wager to win $971.
It's not bad. It's not bad. I think mine was, because when I threw them together just before we did, it was like 48. So it's double what I would have got, but it's not a terrible strategy. And it makes you, really, that should be our strategy at the end of the show, is just parlay it all together. I see what you're doing. All right. Well done.
Yeah. You know what would be actually even more chaotic is if I kind of adapted this a little bit and picked my favorite picks and your favorite picks. And then I really just... So even when you win, I win.
Do a big, giant Canada puck parlay. Here's Here's a 7-pick parlay worth, $10,000 on $5.
Well, we're going to try this strategy next week.
All right. Okay.
See if it works.
Sweet, yo. So that kind of is it for hockey. Like I said, normally at the end of the show, sometimes we have trivia or cards, or we do other stuff. But we would be doing ourselves a disservice if we did not talk about the other cool stuff what's going on. March Madness. How's your bracket looking?
I was looking good after the first day. I think I was sitting in 5,000th position out of the 200,000 or so that were put up. So what does that put me at? Top 2.5%?
Nice.
Yeah. Top 98th percentile or so. 97th percentile, we'll call it that. Make it a little more fair. So, but I didn't check yesterday. One thing, I know that I had USC and they obviously didn't make it out of the first round. So that's going to upset my bracket a little bit because I think I had them going to the Elite 8. How are you looking?
I'm 14th right now out of 5,000 people, so...
Doing all right. I have to know that. Who do you have winning the national championship?
Let's see, view picks. I think, one of my strategies might just be putting Duke in the finals every year and just working my way backwards. So Duke is beating Kansas in the finals.
2 blue bloods. I like it.
Yeah.
I am actively rooting against Coach Mike Krzyzewski. I don't like him. He's a twat, and he does not deserve to go out on a winning note. So I'm hoping desperately that the Blue Devils do not win. I have the Zags going all the way, but they would have to get past Duke to do that. That's the matchup that scared me. So I actually had Duke losing to Texas. Was it Texas Tech in the Elite 8, and then Zags past Texas Tech in the Final Four. But like I said, it's probably all screwed up now because that USC thing probably ended up costing me.
Yeah, and I'm doing pretty well. I think I have Connecticut losing in the, what is this, Sweet 16? But that's kind of my only big dog. Other than that, I think I have lots of the guys that have been knocked out in the first round. If I did have them living, getting knocked out in the second round. So I don't think I'm going to win $25,000. But I think you got to brag about these things when they happen because it's few and far between.
You do. 14th out of 5,000 is definitely something worth hanging on to. I'm just pulling everything up here. While I do that, we also have to commend Mick for single-handedly bringing Tom Brady out of retirement, dismissing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, basically saying, this is Aaron Rodgers' NFL now. And then Tom Brady was like, nope, I'm not going to let that Mick guy get away with this.
Since we spoke last week, the biggest news we had was Russell Wilson going to the Broncos. We had, an NFC that looked kind of like it was maybe Rodgers, maybe LA running it back, and that's it. That's all. Did anything happen this week to change that? It sure did. Big move that happened. Brady comes back. Guys start re-signing with the Bucks. Kind of, there's a flood. All of a sudden, we're like, all right, so now it's a 2-dog race, maybe a 3-dog race in the NFC. Couple days later, we see Devontae Adams getting moved to that AFC West, which is now just one of the most stacked division potentially in the history of sports. Juju Smith-Schuster also signs with the Chiefs to add them kind of another big receiver there. And That's it. What else do we have? We had Watson, Deshaun Watson getting traded into the AFC, which is great. I think he actually was in the AFC before, so he just stayed there, to the Browns. We've got this huge quarterback carousel, and it's not over yet. There's still 7 starting quarterbacks still available on the market, ready to move, that need new teams, and there's like 5 starting positions, maybe 6, depending if you like rookies or not. So it's almost like it's just nonsense. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know where to go.
Well, we have to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers basically falling flat on their face. Mitch Trubisky, that's what you did? But I will say this, the biggest news coming out of Pittsburgh this week, Mason Raymond and Jeannie Bouchard broke up. What? Which means, Mick, we're back in the running to date Eugenie Bouchard.
Nice. That's pretty exciting. Yeah, that's great news. Yeah, no, that is definitely one of those things. The Steelers, I would take advantage right now. If you could get like the Steelers not finishing last, because this Deshaun Watson it's going to be like, it's still a tricky. There's still something like 22 charges pending. There's a suspension coming. Is Deshaun Watson playing 17 games and putting up MVP numbers? I don't think so. Right? So, I mean, do the Steelers with Trubisky and say like a rookie quarterback, are they a better squad? Yes. They're a better coach. They're a better organization than the Browns. The Browns are a dumpster fire.
I'm just excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens to Deshaun Watson, because I'm not saying that, I think he deserves bad things. I will say that. Mm-hmm. And if there's one thing that can bring pain to Deshaun Watson, it's probably the Pittsburgh Steelers front 7.
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, the Steelers are still a good squad, maybe outside of Trubisky, but they weren't a terrible squad with Ben, who couldn't throw the ball last year. And is Trubisky slightly better than Ben Roethlisberger last year? Maybe? Right? Like, he adds an extra element, and, like, I don't know. Sky could still be the limit for this squad, so. The draft hasn't happened. We still don't know what the team looks like after the draft. Like, it's.
Yeah. This week is always crazy because expectations just skyrocket. I am excited to see the AFC West, and I think inevitably that there's going to be, like, 3 teams with legitimate title aspirations, like the Chargers, the Raiders, and fine, we'll include the Broncos, can all make big waves this season. Like, I don't see how those matchups aren't just absolute bloodbaths. Like, if you can tune in, even go live to an AFC West matchup, why not? Yeah, like the Chiefs, I didn't even mention the Chiefs. Like, you're like, every one of these teams could go just as far as the other.
Oh, it's just gonna be an absolute bloodbath. And like, I mean, I guess there's a chance that they all make the postseason, but like, realistically, there's an odd man out. And like, I don't know who's gonna be at this point, right? Like, it's just it's gonna be extremely fascinating, and it's not over. Like, like, who are we talking about as the big free agent quarterbacks between Winston, right? Like, Jameis Winston's still sitting there, so he gets a starting role. You see the dominoes. I like that Taylor Heineke guy out of Washington. He showed some moxie. He went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady, beat him last year. He had a couple other wins under his belt, and he wasn't playing with a great receiving core. With Carson Wentz there, are you telling me that Taylor Heineke isn't an option for somebody right now? You could go grab that guy? I don't know. You just kind of move on down the list, and it'll be interesting going forward, right? Good.
Yeah, we haven't seen the end of the postseason either, or sorry, the off season. And I big moves will continue to happen. I'm hoping that, as a Steelers fan, I'm hoping that there's some plan other than fucking Mitch Trubisky. But if the Steelers do big things next year, then I think we have to just stand and slow clap Mike Tomlin for everything that he's done for this organization, because winning with a roster winning with Ben Roethlisberger and good defense is one thing. To win with Mitch Trubisky and a good defense is entirely something else. Yeah. So we'll see how they adapt. But I am excited. Draft coming up. There'll be tons of props to look forward to. And then the schedule release is less than 2 months away, so we can start getting more excited. And between now and then, more March Madness, more hockey, baseball. It's all coming together.
What did I hear this week, too? The AFC West gets the AFC South this year or something like that. So you get to watch the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Indianapolis Colts, the Houston Texans play 2 games, or I guess 8 games in total against the AFC West. So there's going to be a lot of overs hit, I feel like, in some of those weeks.
There's going to be some hefty spreads, hey? Oh, God.
It'll be fun. It's fun to watch. But yeah, that's it. Baseball. What, anything cool happen in baseball this week? Other than, like, I guess all the free agent holdouts. There was a couple trades. Oakland A's were like, nah, we can't pay these guys. We might as well just trade everybody. Because that's what we do. We're the A's.
Again, another conversation from earlier in the week. The A's, man, they fucking built for 5 years to compete for one and then do it all over again. Like, it's this, like, helpless cycle.
Yeah.
Jays are the obvious beneficiaries. Well, I know that they weren't just the only beneficiaries, but Jays' roster from top to bottom looks outstanding.
Yeah.
And we cycle around. Missing out on Freeman is kind of a bit of a thing. But now you got Chapman, Bichette, Kevin Biggio, Vlad Guerrero, George Springer, Teoscar Hernandez. Like that's a dangerous lineup, defensively and offensively.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. And like Chapman is bringing a higher, probably defensive upside to third base, right? And that's a position they probably were missing a little bit with Vlad. Right now, Vlad isn't stuck playing there. He kind of is questionable defense, right? So I don't know. We'll see. Like, infield looks good, like you said. Sky's the limit.
I, as a Rays fan, was a little devastated that Freddie Freeman signed in Los Angeles because it's not very often the Rays open their pocketbook. And they did with Freeman. It didn't pan out. And here they are. I'm not saying that they're not a good roster, but they're not as good as the teams that have made other moves in the AL East, and that is the Yankees and the Jays. So this is going to be a bit of a... Like, the Rays are the Rays. We know what to expect from them. If they ban the shift, I would say they're kind of fucked, because if all of a sudden you can't shift, which is pioneered by the Rays, then that kind of changes the makeup of their roster and all the versatility that they have in their lineup defensively kind of changes. So other than that, the AL East is basically the AFC West. Yeah. There's going to be some good games. There's going to be appointment television when you get some of these matchups, because those lineups are that good.
Yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Like, I don't know, we'll see. It's kind of exciting. One of those things where it's a very, very exciting time of the year. Like, my phone goes off, buzzes, I look down, oh, Watson's traded. Oh, I look down, this trade happened, or this guy signs there. It's great, love it. Just happy alive, man. Just that's it. Just spend a lot of time napping, sleeping, really catching up so that my brain can be blown every time I see a notification on my phone.
Well, got to get into the hibernation mode as we go into one of the sports equinoxes, and that is we're getting into NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, and MLB action, which is just around the corner now.
Mm-hmm. Sweet. Yo. All right, well, I think that about does it. That wraps it up. Good times.
We let everybody down. We're going a little long here, but we cannot be we would not be the Canada podcast without our babe of the week. This is a long handle you're going to have to get down. It's pretty straightforward, but it's long. Michelle Brittany Martin. Brittany has one T. So MICHELLEBRITANY Martin. I don't know if we're going... She calls this one the new account, so obviously that implies there's been something lost here. But what's not lost on guys like you and me is the absolute captivity that she brings to her pictures. Or maybe not captivity. You know what I'm saying, Mick. Oh, I can't overstate this.
I feel it. That's nice. Grant always does nice work.
4,000 on her way to 40,000, and it won't be long before she's tickling 4 million, just like she's tickled our hearts. Michelle Brittany Martin is our babe of the week. Schwing.
Nice work as always. And yeah, look at that, 10 extra minutes. Darn you, other sports. Darn you.
But a sign of things to come. We got lots to talk about. We will keep our opinions abbreviated to keep us around the 60-minute mark. But before we wrap things up, Mick, party on.
Party on, Grant.
See everybody next week.
Bye.